Welcome to another episode of Black Folks Doing Extraordinary Things, a series dedicated to highlighting some of the incredible, interesting work that Black folks from all walks of life are doing, not only to make a living, but to also just make a difference in our world. Today, I'm here with Justin Brantley, who is a senior financial service auditor. Boom. I myself have no clue, Justin, what that even entails. So I'm really looking forward to just chatting with you, honestly, slightly selfishly, to learn more myself. And just to learn more about your work and, how you got here. So to start us off, if you could just give us a quick introduction, whatever you're comfortable sharing, and if you can include your age or at least a ballpark, where you're based and what it is that you do.
For sure. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think what you're doing is amazing. So to be a part of it is really an honor. So my name is Justin Brantley. I'm 27 years old. I currently live in New York City. Washington Heights to be specific. But I work in Midtown Manhattan at a firm called Eisner Amper. My day-to-day is an auditor, but my work really is financial literacy. I think it's something that's so important for our community, and we weren't really given all those tools and resources. So being able to use some of the knowledge that I'm getting from work to help our community goes hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit more. You said that you kind of have two kind of roles, it sounds like, auditing and then also financial literacy. So what is auditing? Like, what does that even mean? I have no idea. So what does it mean to work in the auditing space? And then tell me a little bit after that about financial literacy.
Yeah, so it's funny. I just saw a meme the other day that said, explain auditing to a 6-year-old.
Okay.
So I'm
give it to me that way. That's how I try to think about my work.
So the meme was like, if Tommy says he has 6 cookies, I'm going to verify he's telling the truth.
Okay.
And that's that. So
okay.
So a lot of what we do is making sure these financial service companies, whether they're broker dealers, private equity companies, or hedge funds, that if they say they have, for instance, $10,000 in their bank account, we're going to now confirm with HSBC, with Chase, okay, are they telling the truth? Do these numbers agree to each other? Do they reconcile? So a lot of it is standard based. So there's just a lot of regulation that goes on in the audit world. So we're making sure that these companies are following tune with those standards. So it's a lot of fact checking, in my opinion. I think that's, in layman's terms, what I'd say we do.
That makes sense. Okay, got it. So you're just fact checking. I love that. Okay. Yeah. So then what about the sort of financial literacy side? What does that look like professionally?
Yeah, so to me, financial literacy is so important because it's easy to get money.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. but holding on to that money, because sometimes, we'll get money and like everybody's mom, aunt, uncle says, it burn a hole in our pocket. And,
yes.
For me, it's being able to teach people different avenues and different resources where they can put their money, and whether they're looking to save for retirement or have something for 5 to 10 years that they can now use when they want to, expand their family or whatnot. Just finding different outlets and being able to tell people, hey, you don't have to just put everything into savings.
Right. Yeah.
Just sharing as much knowledge as I can about money, but money habits, saving, all of that.
Definitely. Yeah. I think, especially in Black communities, or I'll speak to African-American communities because that's what I can speak to from experience. Right. Growing up, you just don't learn a lot about investing, right? There's not a lot of widespread knowledge within our community. And I know growing up, for me, I thought, to make money, it was you work a job and, you might, have your savings account and your checking account, and that was it. Like, I didn't realize, now I'm interested in actual investing. I'm invested in stocks, and I'm looking at small companies and startups that I can invest in. And
right.
I had no idea. Like, you asked me even 5 years ago, I had no clue. And 5 years ago, I considered myself to be pretty knowledgeable, right? But finances, that was not my area, and I didn't know it needed to be, right? But it finance, I think, is embedded in so much that we do, and we don't even think about it day to day because it just, again, it hasn't been a topic that is kind of like dinner table discussion, for lack of better words.
That's what it
So,
is. That's
yeah.
what it is.
So talk to me a little bit about the things you enjoy about the work that you're doing. I mean, obviously you're passionate about knowledge sharing and helping orgs, helping people. But like that day to day, what is it that you enjoy? Like, is it sitting in front of spreadsheets? Is it talking to actual clients? And then in contrast, what are some of the things that you dislike?
I'm a math and a money nerd, if you will. So for me, right, exactly. I'm trying to see
right.
I want to know where the money resides. Okay,
Here
but
for it.
some of these equations, they are tough, and when they naturally like foot or they net to zero, like to me, it's like, okay, I just figured out a puzzle. So that little joy is kind of where the numbers can kind of make me happy, but I'm really a people person. So when I'm client facing, when I have an opportunity to go out and have lunch and really build a relationship with the client, I know not only am I doing my self-service, but the firm is benefiting from this at the same time. So the numbers definitely, they have their ups, but for the most part, it's the people that I focus on. And the least, I mean, the part that I dread are
not dread.
these
strong words.
deadlines. My God. It's like, so in audit, you have pretty much an entire binder's worth of financial information that you have to audit, from the cash to the inventory to the capital unit expenses, you name it. So when we go into it, it's not necessarily okay, you have to get this done and this done and this done today. You have to get the entire audit done by that deadline. So we really have autonomy over like our timeline. But that deadline don't budge. So as the end of the month hits, especially during busy season, it's just it's a crunch. And sometimes you have to sacrifice other things to be able to get your work done by that deadline. So I hate it. Can't stand it.
What does that feel like having to sacrifice other things?
It's okay. So if I'm gonna be real, it's depressing.
Please.
It's like, I remember maybe back in 2018, I told my mother I couldn't come home for her birthday because I had my biggest deadline, and we work on Saturdays, which, it's easy. It seems like it's okay. It's not that big of a deal, but having half of a day less of a weekend while still traveling back and forth to whether it's to a client or whether it's to the city or upstate where I'm from, to see my family, it's sacrificing time with your loved ones is like the real grudge. Not grudge, but that's the real,
it's a pain point.
It's the main point. But at the end of the day, the audit has to get done. So
yeah, for sure. Do you think there's a world in which like your work could exist where there's a better balance between, or maybe not necessarily better balance, but less of a sense of urgency, which, by the way, is one of the pillars to white supremacy, but that's another discussion.
They find a way to boil that in everywhere. There's always something that is making us as people of color and as Black folks uneasy in everything. So to me, I think more resources for some of these companies starting earlier, maybe saying, hey, let's not try to fill up the entire book of business when the staff that we have right now are barely being able to finish the things that the clients that we do have. So I think a lot of it is management. We're in a capitalistic society. So every firm is going to try to max out the coins that they have coming in. So
that's the industry.
It's that give and take of, okay, we want all the clients, the big money spenders, but okay, here are the people now losing out on their own work-life balance. So that's what I will say. Eisner, if you're listening, you also could give a brother a raise.
Ooh.
Vacation days, you know.
Come on, sprinkle it in there, right? Sprinkle it in
You
there,
gotta get it
sprinkle
where
it
you
in there.
can.
You have to, you have to. So you kind of touched on it, but are there other ways that you think, your identity as a Black person impacts the work that you're doing? It could be the work specifically, the role that you're in, the industry overall. How do you think being Black impacts just what you're doing and, your ability to succeed in the way that you see fit?
So one of the big things that we're even talking about at my firm is our lack of diversity, especially as in management roles. So while the day to day, as long as the numbers agree, there's no problem. But especially as someone's growing through their career in audit, there's so much that we don't know, that having someone that looks like you, having someone of color to guide and be a mentor, be a resource is so pivotal. And
sort of like unspoken rules, are you speaking to?
Exactly. Unspoken
Okay.
rules, but
Yeah,
also rather than spinning your wheels trying to figure something out, some of the older, more senior members, they've been working through this for 10, 15 years. But if you don't feel comfortable approaching them to ask that question, everything changes, and you have to get it where you can. So
yeah,
that definitely has ramifications.
yeah,
But as far as in the financial literacy space, I mean, again, because we aren't having these types of conversations at the dinner table, there are very few Black folks who are knowledgeable enough to even share information, but
yeah,
are confident enough to put their own experience out on the line. So
right.
for me, I love it because I have this audit background. So few people really having these conversations on a regular basis. It's empowering to be that one Black friend, or the few folks who are having the conversation, who are leading the conversation, whether it be on social media or even in person. I mean, I've learned that, especially people of color, we want to see results. So
yes.
telling somebody, hey, if you put this money in the stock market and don't touch it for 5 years, man, I want
5
to move quicker.
years.
Exactly.
How about 5 hours, maybe?
Years minimum, y'all. 5 years minimum, because that's how the white patriarchy has found all of their money.
It's an interesting and good take on privilege, right? Like, the reason why a lot of Black people are seeking fast money is because we need or have needed money in that moment. And so there's a need, there's that urgency constantly of, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to, whatever it is. And so that idea of putting some money that I need right now into something that I got to let sit for 5 years, unfathomable. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? And sit here and starve, or let my kids suffer, or my family, or whatever, not get what they need because I'm waiting, right? And that's privilege, is the ability to be able to sit some money into 5 years and forget about it, and then pop up later, but oh yeah, invest. Okay, I did invest that. Right?
Exactly.
That's privilege, right? And it's real. But again, a cause of our inequities in this world. So sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I could do this all day. So that's a good segue into the next question, which is, how did you get into this, right? Like, what led you here? Because again, it's something that isn't, openly spoken about. Black folks traditionally, historically in America, haven't just openly talked about their finances. So how did you get into this work? What experiences or education got you here?
I got my bachelor's and my master's from SUNY Oswego in public accounting. I think from even back in high school, they told us that accounting was like the basis of all business. So for me, I was like, okay, I want to go to the concrete jungle, and I want to learn how the money is being moved from Wall Street to Fifth Ave and all this stuff. So that was kind of like the nudge in the direction. But genuinely, I feel like the more I learned, the more excited I was to sort of infiltrate this Pandora's box of information. So I didn't have any internships in accounting. I didn't, have a father, uncle, cousin who worked in the space. I really said, okay, if my university has a 5-year program where I can kind of just knock it out in one go, and I can learn the skills to maybe create my own business one day, that's really all I needed. But as far as how I got to the space I am right now, with Eisner, they give you the opportunity to work in tax or not-for-profit or audit. And then even within there, you have the opportunity to go into financial service or commercial. Working in the commercial space, you get to see a lot of different organizations. So we audit the National Basketball Association. So we audit the NBA. We audit some of the MLB baseball teams. And that was what really got me excited. I was like, oh, hey, I'm about to do MSG, auditing everybody, getting everybody's money. Didn't work out so well. Right. So when I realized that I wasn't getting on the engagements that I sought after so much, I said, okay, let me switch gears. And in financial services, that is really where the money is going in New York City. There, you know, Spotify, Facebook, and the Knicks, while they all are big players, the money is going through these broker dealers, these private equity funds where there's high net worth folks pooling their money together to invest in certain things. So really just, I kind of, you know, skipped, hopped, and got a little bit of everything. I was, my staff year, I was that jack of all trades. And I thought that was, you know, I thought that was good for a moment. But once I decided to commit to one thing, it's been a blessing. Truly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I appreciate you dropping these little gems of knowledge around here.
Right. You gotta put it in the summary.
What's really going on? Let me go on over here and look at these equity firms and such. Awesome. So what are some perhaps tangible steps or actions that you would recommend someone take if they're interested in doing what you do? I think something you mentioned was that you didn't have any internships. And so I think that's really interesting because a lot of people, you know, especially in finance or business, I hear are constantly looking for these like really, you know, well-known programs and, you know, intern to full-time hire programs. So can you speak a little bit on that and some, you know, advice you have for people that are interested?
I'll admit, while I didn't have an accounting internship, I still interned at very reputable business organizations. And to me, I was nervous that I didn't have an accounting internship. I felt, oh, they weren't going to take me. But as you build your experience and as you build your professional and business acumen, it all starts to come together regardless. So while I know not everyone's story is the same, get that internship, regardless of what it is. Walk towards that path is what I was. One of the very important things on how I even got my job, conferences. So any opportunity you have to network and to be in front of decision makers and recruiters, put yourself out there because somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who's hiring. So I think that's number one. Number two, experience is one thing and education is another. And sometimes neither are enough. For me, even though I have the degrees and I've been working at this firm for 4 years, I'm now realizing at the beginning or middle of my career, I still need certifications. I still need to continue my education. So
it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. So the one thing I'd say to anyone who's looking to get into this industry is start fast and start early. You have to, I know it's a lot of education. I know it's a lot of schooling. I know it's a lot of tests, but the more senior you become, the older you get, the more is on your plate, the more personal and family business that you have to deal with. So the sooner you go out and get your CPA or your CFA or whatever it is, just give it a shot and don't be discouraged because that time lost, you're never going to get back. So if you'd like to be an auditor, you have to, it's a specialized industry. So you have to dive in and sacrifice some summers.
Yeah. And do you think that it's possible for someone, or have you seen anybody transition from a different career into being an auditor?
For sure. Definitely. Most of these organizations, I mean, when they see your resume, they're looking for accounting, finance, business administration. So it's not as easy to just, come off the street and land a role at a public accounting firm.
Sure. But,
I mean, even an intern who I was working with this past year, she used to do choreography for the carnival, or for the circus, not the carnival. for the circus. So like, that was amazing to me because I was like, wow, like you really got to explore your interests out of college, and now you're taking a second shot at it. So while there are barriers to entry.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Favorite,
on
KG.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I'm glad you got the reference. Some people never get it. And I'm like, oh gosh, classic. Right? He lived his best life that night. Oh gosh, Black boy joy. But I definitely think, like I said, anything is possible. So I think there's certainly an entryway, but it's helpful to just hear from you, and
Definitely.
a subject matter expert on, what that could look like. Any final words or anything else you like to share, knowledge you like to drop? It could be about specific to your role or just overall.
I say one thing that I've learned in this industry is that once you get here, there's so many avenues you can take it. In college, maybe they only talk about audit and tax, but there's forensic, there's consulting, there's wealth management. So I've had friends who have left public accounting and gone on to go get their PhD, work at companies like Spotify, or lead some of the different finance departments of a private company, help their own friends kind of be their CPA or accountant. So the last thing I'll say, don't run away from your career aspirations. Regardless of how scary they are, you should walk towards them, because in that way you see it coming. Like if you're avoiding what you have to do, you're not getting any further. So definitely steadfast, even if it's a big dream, even if it's a big dream, it's one step at a time, one goal at a time, and you'll get there.
That's exactly it. Taking it a step at a time. Well, I so appreciate you doing this. And for those of you watching this, there will be a transcribed version of this link below. Also, a little bit more information about Justin, and hopefully maybe a couple resources that you'd like to share with folks that are interested in learning more about auditing. If you have questions, drop me a comment, and hope to see you back here soon.
All right, everybody. Thank you.